Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for March the 14th through the 20th, 2022. So before I begin, I'd just like to begin by welcoming everyone back this week and also welcoming anyone who may be new to the channel. And I began by introducing this as Angelic Wisdom, as technically it already is. I'm still going through the process of changing the name from the Angel School to Angelic Wisdom. And hopefully this week I may have some drafts of the new logo, designs, maybe like hopefully narrow it down to two, to poll and get your sort of opinions about which one you prefer. And so, yeah, this is just all new and it's difficult to get used to. So, but I know it will serve us well, that it will somehow set the intention for what we're really doing here. And I think it gets to the heart of it, the angelic wisdom. And so I thank you all for some of your comments over the week and the appreciation that you've shown. So this is the week. For me, is this week is my 51st birthday. So the 17th of March, I was born on St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, and I always think about my mom at this time. And I think about all women actually give birth and the amazing roles that they play in our lives, and also our fathers as well. So yeah, this is a beautiful week, and I can really feel a lot of angelic presence with us. So just want to get back to one thing I want to clarify as well. Some people have asked me about the special offer that I had during the pandemic, and yeah, that did end in the month of January. So for the since the month of February, and I'm just gonna do this, even though this is not what I was guided to do, but I think it'll be simpler. So my first time promotional offer will just be available this year. Since it's the 10th year anniversary, the so it doesn't matter if you've had it already, had a reading or not. You can get that first time promotional offer. I think it's $103 for this year. So everyone is you can have multiple readings this year with that particular offer. My half-hour reading is still there. You know, it's a $77 half-hour reading, so it's still there. But you know, it depends on. I think it's good for like one question, or maybe two if you're really clear. But you know, it's really meant for that one question and to talk one-on-one. And then this hour reading is for delving a little bit deeper. Okay. So just trust your angels, and whatever you need to be able to have a reading with me, set a really clear intention. So that means, you know, I talked about that earlier. You know, you feel this inspiration in your heart. So I always tell people to do this only if you're called. You're not doing this for me. You know, but if you feel called, and I just saw the word change flash, if you're feeling that there's a big shift or change that you're going through or that it's coming, and you want to understand yourself within this change, you want to understand your place and yourself. I think it's first you want to understand yourself. We often want to understand our place within a change or a transformation that's unfolding. That means we want to figure out how to stabilize the outer reality, but you want to understand yourself within the change. Once you understand yourself within the change, and the outer reality will acquiesce to that. And in setting an intention, you set a focus for the inner planes of your soul to start to really draft that outcome that you would like to see unfold. And you can't, we can't pigeonhole it, but we can at least be in the ballpark. And the ballpark is, is being able to be present, be able to perform and come step up to the plate and take your shot, right? So, have an intention about what you're seeking, how you want to feel, in terms of an outcome, what is your purpose for, and very, very broad and very, very general. Like if you're just seeking peace, all right, or if you're seeking a path of joy, be very general but specific, because these concepts are soul sound bites, if you will. This is what the soul resonates with. I just saw a bird, um, which is it's sort of like directly communicating with your angels when you set intentions, right? So they know exactly how to orchestrate the rest of what is going through your mind based on that intention. So once you have that general intention, then decide what it is that you need from the angels in order to be able to show up for this reading, whether you need financial support for it, or whatever you need and however you wish to be fulfilled around that intention. And you'll find that everything will just come to you, so that you need to show up. And a lot of times, have you ever noticed, and I don't know why I'm getting into this, but I guess there's always a reason for everything, but have you ever noticed that when something is right for you, no matter what it costs, it's like you just do it. And when and then there are other times when we struggle. And I really feel like it's really, because I've been through this so many times, it's really our perception. So our perception of abundance is what sometimes allows us to feel limitless and to be able to do the things that we want. And then there are times when we feel disempowered and limited, and we can't manage to see anything that we want or the path for it. So there is something about this that we need to, something that we're working through. And I want to go into that a little bit later, but so just there was a reminder that you can just go to my webpage, theangelschool.com/services, and you will see that first time promotional offer for $103. I don't know where this is going, but something is, I can feel it. And because it's, we're here learning, we're here to receive the wisdom of the angels. And there are really important lessons that are always coming to us to help us to shift out of the illusions that our ego just keeps projecting. So let's just take a deep breath for a moment, because I feel this energy in my heart chakra, off to my right, to the right corners of the heart chakra. Now, all of your chakras are made up of chambers. And each one of these chambers represents an attribute of that particular chakra. And there are probably infinite ones, and they probably could change. I've heard different people have specific attributes for these chambers. but they could change depending on what your soul uh, um, alchemy is all about. But um, I just keep seeing the word change, and for this chamber. And what I'm going to say to you is also that these chambers are also like what in my understanding, what has come to me recently is that when Jesus said there are many mansions in my Father's house, that it's referring to these chambers, and they are like mansions, each one a chamber, a room in and in the dimensions. So, dimensions are multi-dimensional, they're multi-level, um, just vast. Just like we may be consciously focused here, but we're also existing and consciously focused in various dimensions. So and I don't know why I'm bringing this up to you, but it's really important, I feel, that you understand this when you are doing your chakra work, that your chakra is usually taking you into a chamber, a dimension of consciousness where your heart is having to find alignment through a particular lesson. And right now, you are dealing with the writing change and expansion. And really being open to this. So there's a lot of resistance in the world right now to the change. And I'm gonna, yeah, because they're saying yes, so I'm going I'm getting it correctly. This is the change, the big one. Okay. And what we're seeing right now is the last stand, the big resistance to the big change. And with this change, it's like a death, because we're mourning things that we're attached to, that we feel safe, they write, in the things that we already have, even if they're not the best, even if they're miserable, we know it, so we're comfortable with what we know, and we're very uncomfortable with what we don't know. And we've assigned um, we've assigned a concept, for lack of a better word, to those two categories. So we've decided that we're afraid. What we don't know, we're afraid. What we don't know is risky. What we don't know is losing control, throwing it all away for what might be nothing. And then we tell ourselves, well, what I do know, I know it. I've survived it, and there's that word. And the word that we can't even find for the other context in the unknown is thriving. Because thriving can only happen in a context of freedom, of detachment. But in this context of knowingness, we survive. We survive because we have this setup, and we manage it. We manage to get through it. Whatever it throws at us, we know it's coming. It's easy to deal with. It's less stressful, although it is very it's very dramatic, right? And it's burdensome. But we say to ourselves, at least I know what I'm going to do. If this happens, I'll just do this. If this goes wrong, I'll just do this. But listen to me as I say that. Listen to yourself as you hear me say that, how it resonates with you. This doesn't seem like all it doesn't seem like that's it for us, that it should be that, right? So how do we move? How do we change? How do we change the perspective we have about these two things? How do we shift them? Because sometimes, and I think with the abundance piece and the money piece, sometimes there's things that are good for us, but we put them in that unknown category, in that risk category. And then we have this struggle with ourselves. And then we make ourselves unhappy. Now, it almost feels like somebody's holding your head underwater. That's not quite the feeling, because I feel it in my heart chakra. But you want something, and then you can't give it to yourself because you're afraid of all the risks. So it's like somebody's you're holding your head under the water, and you're struggling. And that repeated circumstance starts to cause you to surrender, right? Because eventually, if something's holding your head in the water, you're either gonna have to surrender to give in, so they'll let you up. And it's like, okay, well, if you do what I say, because this is basically what your ego is saying. If you do what I say, I'll let up. I'll let you breathe. I'll let you breathe. I'll let you survive. But if you know something in your heart is right for you, then you have to be willing to die, meaning to let go, to change, because that's what death really is. It's change. It's a new state of existence. That's really what death is. Now, we've built up so many parameters around that, and walls, and and we've the boogeyman, and we've made it a horror flick. And I know I'm talking about literal death, but there is such a similarity between dying physically and dying spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Such a similarity. And the thing that's on the other side of that line is freedom, unlimitedness, and an opportunity. See, on the other side is not the risk, it's opportunity. An opportunity for happiness. And doggone, yeah, something might challenge you, something might go wrong. But did you ever think that from the ego's perspective, it's like, see, I told you so. But what if it's more like, welcome. Welcome to this world. We've set up first of all, we set up like this, these introductory workshops for you to just be aware of how all the systems work. And then we've set up different dynamics to help you to work out those final little bits of resistance so that you can really have this fun-filled cruise in a new awareness and new existence of life, one where you thrive. So welcome to thriving, they say. And you go, oh, I see. And they're like, well, we're going to prepare you for it. So the challenges that are coming up are to help you to work out those last little bits of resistance. You made it over. You just got to work out this stuff. Now, this kind of happens both in the crossing over the literal death, as well as every time you defy your ego while you're still in your physical body. So right now, you don't have to doubt yourself anymore, because your higher self, your I am presence, is fully embodying and integrating into your life experiences. When that happens, that's just like getting a system update, switching from Windows 10 to Windows 11, or iOS 13 to 14, or Android 11 to 12. That's a new system update. So there's going to be, you know, a new user interface, right? All of your applications have to be updated by the developers. So this means that when you make this kind of change, when you start to feel impulses that are inspired, and then you clam up, that's your ego wanting you to stay put. But you've got to trust your I am presence and move into this new space. Cross that line of change. Die, meaning let the attachments that are with you that no longer serve you where you're going, let them die. Everything does not die because everything is not lacking purpose for you in your journey, your continuing journey. It's just those things that are stubborn, that don't want to let go, that are holding you back. All right, so let's take a look at the archangel we're working with. And this is the archangel that I've been working with for the last 2 months. It came up for me. And this is Archangel Samael. And he when this card comes up, the one thing I've told myself, now looking at, you probably cannot see it in the light. It doesn't look like we have good focus here today. Let me see if okay, let me pause. Yeah, it's very rainy and dark here today in the morning. It's like 8, after 8 a.m. And if you can see, there's this bowl that he's holding. It has cracks in it. And when I see this card, it reminds me, I've written the intention to have a reverence for my imperfections this month. And, Archangel Sammael reminds us that we're not perfect, that our imperfections are intentional because they also make us unique. And every one of those cracks has evolved into a gift. At first, they came with some kind of suffering, and I'll just simplify it by, the object itself, this beautiful object that we get, something that we love, we saw it, we wanted it, and we desired it, and we went for it, and then all of a sudden we do something accidentally to damage it. And that pain that we feel when we damage something that we have treasured, and there is this bit of suffering, right? But that bit of suffering causes us to, when it happens to the human spirit in some way, at first there's a lot of resistance around something that has collapsed. And then we realize that we have to repair ourselves, that we have to grow, that we have to, in order to move forward, that we have to embrace it. And when we embrace it, a gift of light is replaced within us. And and so when this archangel comes up, it's telling us that you're on a fast track to your ascension process, because it means that you're learning to embrace your imperfections as your unique perfection, because no one else has that imperfection but you. And when you honor it, when you have reverence for it, and when you open your heart to receive that as for what it is, then it becomes a talent or skill or some offering of love, a gift. And so this week, there's two cards I've already pulled for this week that I've written on, and the Hangman came up and the Seven of Swords. And what was interesting about the Seven of Swords with both cards is that it's telling us that there is some kind of delay. And it's telling us that we need to kind of put ourselves in someone else's shoes in order to communicate with them, meaning that we have to not just see things from our own perspective, but that we have to see it from others' point of view. And really, and the goal for that is to heal. The goal for that is to really offer something of value. So let's say if you're working on a project and you're having some setbacks, it might be that you need to really role play for the type of people that you're hoping to serve, so you can really get into their mindset and understand where they're coming from. And that way, the Seven of Swords is not being deceptive, but you're using role play in order to get into the minds and hearts of the people that you're trying to reach, serve, and understand what is valuable to them, so that you can offer a service that they value. And then when people value, when your service honors the values of those that you're serving, then that whole idea of money exchange or the energy exchange is irrelevant. It bypasses the ego immediately, and you won't have an ego interaction. So you may want to think about this in terms of projects and things that you're doing. It could be this, or it could be many other things. But the idea is finding that value that they can relate to, that you need, because this is what your purpose is. You're here to serve. And there in that, you may need to get more inside of the people that you're trying to serve, to really understand them. So there's a communication. And oftentimes we think we're doing things for people and we're setting it up, and we get attached to it. So you're given an idea to do something, and then you get attached to it, meaning it becomes about you failing or succeeding. It becomes about you doing the right thing or the wrong thing. You worry over these things instead of the purity of your goal, your project, or whatever it is that you're doing was inspired to you out of service. Your purpose is service. So it's never about whether you are doing it right or wrong. It's about the value of those that you are serving. And does that value align with your clients, let's put it that way, or your customers? So you need to see if you can find the value that is you're trying to communicate. And so that's going to be really important. That's just an example of something of stepping outside of yourself. What was inspiring about this card, and I don't know if it'll come up or if I could find this, I'm not going to try to do that, but it was an angel sitting with a mask on, and she had a bird mask on, and she was surrounded by different types of birds. And so she was sitting on a cloud. And again, this is usually a card of deception, but she wasn't trying to do that. What she was trying to do is get into their mindset. She was role playing. And I thought that was such a beautiful way of thinking about this card, a more empowered way when a card like that comes up for us. All right? So, Archangel Samael's message says, choose harmonious responses. Choose harmonious responses. Think about that value, even if it was a relationship dynamic issue. And if you, instead of focusing on your own ambitions or needs, or need to be validated in the conversation, even if you're right or wrong, but if you were to focus on what is of value to the people that you are interacting with, that's also aligns with what is most important to you as well. Finding resonance, harmonious responses in this way. What would the outcome of that conversation be, or that negotiation? What would it look like if I was choosing a harmonious response, meaning that I've targeted what is of value here? And I've taken myself out of it mostly, because part of you will always be, you're still a part of that equation. If it was a pie chart, you are one slice of that still. Your value matters, but you must also have room for everyone else that's involved, what matters to them and what they value, in order to have this harmonious response. And they're just flashing that word change again, as if this is the change that we all need to make. Think about it. World peace. How else could we achieve it when people are in negotiations right now? Everybody's on their side, that line, and nobody wants to cross it, but you have to cross the line in order to have real change. You have to step into somebody else's domain to understand their mindset, where they're coming from. And you have to be vulnerable enough to let them do the same, to see you. This is really about that we are resisting, not, we're resisting having people to see us in our truth, because we're afraid to see it. And think about the huge influence this will have in the world when we all realize that we all have to allow a vast part of ourselves to die, so that we can step into the other side, the mindset of others, and have true understanding. It's a sense of that you won't react the way you do to what other people do when you have a foot in their mindset, and you understand where they're coming from. Your compassion becomes the glue that mediates a lot of the misunderstanding. Okay, so let's move on. Let's take a look at the cards for the week. And we have the Page of Water. All right, so let me just, before we get into this, I'm going to play one time with the light and see. Okay. I just think I can see the card. The light puts more of a glare, I think, on the card's details. But so we have the Page of Water. Okay, and this is something sort of, she just comes out of the ocean, the subconscious, right? The realm of our emotions, and also that unknown, the vast unknowns, right? The water, the ocean has been associated for a long time for, the depths that we cannot see. So there's a lot of unknowns, right, in the deep waters. And so when something comes up out of that subconscious, we can either feel triggered, or we can be open to a message, some clarity that we haven't had, some understanding or awareness that we haven't had before. And this gives us a sense that spiritually, something at the beginning of the week for us, a gift is offered to us. So that you would really want to pay attention to your intuition, your instincts, trusting your instincts. Maybe this card is suggesting that you're learning to, that some of the things that might unfold might put you in a position, a challenge of learning to trust your instincts. And what I'm getting is that in learning to trust yourself, in learning to trust others, you will learn that you need to first learn to trust yourself better. If you really want to understand a problem outside of you, then you've really got to be vulnerable and open to understanding a problem within yourself. And I mean, yes, I do mean it. And I don't mean it like it's something really awful. But what I mean is like, almost like an equation. They're just patterns within us that we need to sometimes understand and acknowledge. Even it probably is the most simplest form of what is needed, so that when you see it show up in another, you have compassion for them too. You can relate, and you should relate. You should not ignore that you see a pattern in someone else that that runs within you, and then beat up on them for it, right? Or shame them for it, or make them feel inferior for it. So this is where we begin to heal, and noticing patterns within ourselves that function or that operate within us, and having compassion and using that pattern to help you to relate to others, to help you to have compassion and see what healing is possible when you do that. All right, let's take a look at the card for the middle of the week. And this is the Six of Fire. So this is really interesting because it looks so much like the it seemed like it would be a card for the Six of Swords, right? But here we have this number 6, which is about cooperation, collaboration, harmony. And this is usually a card of victory, all right, where someone is being recognized and celebrated for the achievement that they made. They had went through a competition of some sort. They went through a lot of different challenges, and they came out victoriously. Now, if we are looking for that value, and this is what we mean, it's not just about us, but about everyone. And we can do this as a human race. We can shift in this change. And so everyone can win. It's just not the same type of win, but everyone can win if you're honoring their values, and if your focus in what you're doing focuses on that, which means that your piece of the pie is in there, but you've looked at all the other portions as well and found something that connects, so that everybody gets something out of it that they can be nurtured by and learn from and grow and have expansion on their own levels and in their own ways. Okay? Let's take a look at the card for the end of the week, the Empress. So this gives me a sense of abundance, and like there's room for all, there's plenty for all, is the sense that I'm getting from this card. Everybody has an opportunity here. Everybody can gain something from this experience. So, and the also that it gives me a sense of thriving. So if we approach things in this way, where we acknowledge that everybody has value and that our services should be inclusive of those values, that we can all expand, we can all benefit. This is the kind of love that keeps love, that this is the kind of love where love flourishes, where our boundaries become limitless, that things just keep expanding for us. I think you know the phrase I'm trying to say, but this is what change was really meant to represent for us. Not this just the sacrifice, but the acceptance and the welcoming of numerous multitudes of rewards. All right, and let's take a look at the card I've already pulled from the bottom of the deck and the Page of Fire. So this is just telling me, we got 2 pages here. So it's saying that new doorways are opening for us, new possibilities. They herald some type of change or some type of new beginning, which is a change, right? Is at that starting point of it. And one thing to note about that is that everything is just wonderful, especially when you have new ideas, everybody's easily motivated, but sustaining it as time erodes that newness, right? And the only way to sustain something is to always have an inclusive package, in terms of what we've been talking about, the value, what is of value to those that you're serving, and making sure that all of that is on the table. We can do it, but we have to let go. We have to let go of our own personal needs, and really focus on what really motivates you and what you're passionate about. Because there's more to fill all those areas where you might feel that you would be now lacking. So it's almost like sometimes spiritually we feel like if we think of it like money, so I have this full circle of all these things, money and everything I want, comfort and luxury. And when a change is presented to me, an opportunity, an inspired idea, I have to give up the majority of that, and then I'm left with less. But the universe does is it fills it with new levels of abundance, new levels of comfort, luxury. And so, and all those things will be the things that we need to really, I'm trying to say the words, the value of where you're going, those things will represent that. And it will help you to sustain that. And when the time for a new wave of change, you will let go and you will reassess your values and the values of all those included, and it will be an inclusive. And then the things that will replace that will be the things that honor that level of value. And it just goes on and on and on. But without this, you have struggle. You have the sense of trying to survive, to sustain your business, to sustain your project, to keep the interest, and then you're working from manipulation. Because when you're just looking at something and then trying to do it logically, you're not listening with your heart what people value and what they need. You can't calculate value in your mind. That will only work with things, which is why we're so out of balance in terms of our concept of power. And so because we have ignored the true power, the heart, which is all about value, what it values, and then attracts abundance to you based on that clarity of your values and the value of what your purpose is. You see, you thrive from that and you survive from the other. So Archangel Samael is also known as the angel of death because his role in your life when he shows up is to eradicate your ego, that death. And he even wants to completely get rid of it. But In this point, we're trying to get rid of those patterns that are limiting you, that are keeping you from living an existence, an expanded existence that is based on a foundation of values that of your soul, and that you also value through your purpose the souls of others that you are given the charge to serve. All right. So lots of big changes. I just keep writing that. Be aware of how you're changing, and be aware of when you might be in resistance. And to don't fight the resistance, but just try with each breath to let go. And you do that by inspiring yourself and getting into the shoes of those you're trying to serve, and trying to understand what they value, and to authentically be able to express that through whatever it is that you're doing, whatever form of presentation that's where your passion goes, and your ego will fall away, because your soul's presence will be such an overwhelming force of good in what you're trying to accomplish. So I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a beautiful, beautiful week.